Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Conference championship weekend is officially upon us. The college football committee is a bigger fraud than pyramid schemes are. The hiring carousel seems to have found a halt. Everybody except for Penn State. We got a very exciting episode for you, as always, with a 20-piece creator on deck, Anthony Evans, and Jocks 94.5 three-man front host, Conrad Van Order. Gentlemen, let's jump straight into it. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Birmingham Sports, your one-stop shop for everything happening in the Magic City sports scene. Get out to a game and stay up to date with everything happening in the Magic City on Instagram at Birmingham Sports and on X at Birmingham Sports as well. Gentlemen, diving into it, I know we got an exciting week ahead of us. I think we're going to start with just the mini rants that we've seemed to be doing. Anthony, conference championship week officially starting. Do you have anything you want to talk about or rant about before the games get kicked off here?
Yeah, I just want to mention that on Tuesday night, Hunter Yurachek was on with Reese Davis talking about why Bama jumped Notre Dame in the playoff ranking this past week, and he brought up that the thing that gave them the biggest push was their Bama went for it on fourth down to go take the lead in Auburn. I I don't I don't mind the call uh, in that situation. But can we get our playoff requirement straight? I mean, they beat a 5-7 Auburn team by a touchdown, and that one play gives them enough to make a jump in front of somebody. And I know that Notre Dame, we got some problems with Notre Dame too, but I think Miami should be in over them. But they can't even play for an ACC championship. So 7-5 Duke is playing for the title in that one. So I don't know. Everything is backwards. But going forward on fourth down, I don't know if that is enough for me to give somebody an extra push in the playoff rank. So there's my rant.
I agree with it. Conrad, maybe from the other side, you see something different than what Anthony's saying?
Well, so what you're saying, I totally agree with. Like the reasoning for why, it's kind of like a couple weeks ago, when they gave credit to Indiana for that last second win over Penn State. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, it was a good win, right? Like at the end of the day, you found a way to win a game that you should have won easily. But that's kind of where I am. Like, I don't think you should get credit for those in general. But if you're going to give one team, some teams credit for that stuff, I guess it was nice to feel like they were, kind of being fair there. But I think it's stupid all around. So, I agree with, why people were mad. Like, why is Alabama moving them up now? My rebuttal to that would be Alabama should have never been behind Notre Dame in the first place. And that's where the committee messed up because they made themselves look dumb because they overreacted. I mean, Alabama, I know they lost to Oklahoma, but you lost by 2 points at home in a game where you turned it over three times. Like, they overreacted to that. So I understand why people are upset. I think you made a good point, Anthony, but I also think the committee got it wrong, and they were just overcorrecting a wrong that they had made previously. But with that being said, I am excited to be in Atlanta this weekend cheering on the Alabama Crimson Tide as they will be having a rematch with Georgia with the chance to potentially get a first round bye. So looking forward to that one. And my little rant, the only little thing I have to complain about this week is if you are favored or you are an underdog of almost two touchdowns in your conference championship game, yes, I'm talking about BYU. I'm so tired of seeing all the graphics on social media of how many 6-6 and 7-5 teams BYU's beat this year. I really couldn't care less, and I hope Texas Tech smokes them because they don't belong anywhere near the playoff, in my opinion.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of piggyback and kind of pivot that at the same time. Anthony mentioned it. My little mini rant here. Notre Dame is the biggest fraud. They got the luck of the Irish. They have the TV ratings and not being in the conference, and that's the only thing that's going to push them into the playoffs, which just shouldn't be happening. Anthony, you said it. What we don't even know the requirements for the playoffs. We don't know the requirements for conference championships. Obviously, it's just win as many conference games as you possibly can. But you look at the ACC, there was like an 8-way tie that could potentially happen with the games that happened last week. Um, put some notes here of why Notre Dame is a complete fraud. Mainly compare them to Miami here. So straight up, Notre Dame lost to Miami 27-24. No questions about that. Granted, it was week one. You have some argument. A lot has changed in the past 14, 15 weeks, whatever it is. But there's three other games that they've played the same teams even not being in a conference for Notre Dame. Miami on the road at Pittsburgh, Miami 38, Pittsburgh 7. Notre Dame on the road at Pittsburgh, Notre Dame 37, Pittsburgh 15. So Miami scoring one more point, but also letting 8 less points up. Miami at home against Stanford, they win 42-7. Notre Dame at Stanford 49-20. You could say there's home field advantage. It's Stanford. Stanford is dog doo-doo at the bottom of the ACC, giving up 20 points compared to 7 points. Like, come on now. And then you got Miami, NC State. Miami 41, NC State 7. Notre Dame 36, NC State 7. Both were home games for both Miami and Notre Dame. Simply just scoring more points against the same team there. Absolutely just dog doo-doo. Conrad, this is where I'm pivoting it off of BYU. I think BYU is more deserving over Notre Dame. Here's why. BYU's 11-1. Yes, they've played a lot of 7-6 teams, but their also only loss is to the almost guaranteed at this point first round bye playoff team Texas Tech. The conference record 8-1, with that one being Texas Tech. Notre Dame doesn't have a conference. So what are you going to judge there? Strength of record, Notre Dame is 13th, where BYU is 6th. Obviously 11-1 is pretty impressive there. Strength of schedule, 42 is what Notre Dame is ranked. 35 is what BYU is ranked. Every category, BYU wins here. BYU's best win is against number 15 Utah, where Notre Dame best win is number 17 USC. And then worst loss, again, BYU only has one of them on the road at number 5 Texas Tech at the time. And then Miami hosting Notre Dame was Notre Dame's worst loss there. I do like the idea. I know it was floated around earlier this year or earlier this week. Miami and Vandy, there's a bylaw or whatever you call it in the college football scheduling. If you go and play a game in the state of Hawaii, you get an extra game. So I know at one point Miami and Vandy were looking at scheduling a last-minute game, flying all the way out to Hawaii just so the two of them could play head-to-head to potentially earn that right into the final college football playoff spot. Didn't happen. Still could potentially happen, maybe before Tuesday, maybe a Sunday or Monday game. Don't think it's going to, but I do like where both their heads are at. I think Miami, Vandy, and BYU are all three well more deserving of getting into the playoffs than Notre Dame. That's my mini rant. The luck of the Irish, you got to give it up at some point. TV viewerships, I know you're going to get your views, obviously, with America's team on NBC, but I mean, we're not here to watch TV. We're here to watch football, and it's got to be some competitive football here. Notre Dame just doesn't have that this year. So a little bit more of a big rant than a mini rant, but that's where my 2 cents are at. That being said, we are moving into the conference championships this week. The top 8 seeds are pretty much locked in: Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. You're looking at Alabama, Notre Dame, BYU, Miami, potentially Vanderbilt, Virginia, Tulane, North Texas, and maybe even James Madison sneaking in there. Gentlemen, just with the teams that are at stake, the ones that have confirmed, is there anything that catches you off guard with what the College Football Playoff Committee has portrayed this far, and what is that?
I think for me, it just goes back to like what are we going to make the requirements to be in the playoff? Because something I didn't bring up earlier, Sarkisian scheduled a tough schedule playing Ohio State this year, and they're going to play Ohio State again next year in Michigan. And at the time he was thinking the requirements are strength of schedule, strength of the record, right? Well, obviously they're 9-3 this year. They've had some, some tough losses, but Ohio State is one of those losses, and that's a great team, number one team in the country. You would think that would give them a little bit of a leg up with the committee, but it just didn't. And so let's just get it straight. Like, let's figure out what it is that we need to have, what requirements do we need to meet. And that should be it. Like, there shouldn't be any of this talk of, I mean, like you said, Bondi, you said it great. Notre Dame shouldn't be up there.
Conrad?
Yeah, I mean, I think just generally more transparency from them is what we've always wanted, and that's going back for years now. So I don't think anything's going to change. You can go on their website, and they have all of the different criteria that they're supposed to, whatever, and they very clearly kind of manipulate that week in and week out, right? I mean, we see it every single year, like we just talked about with Alabama and Notre Dame. They make mistakes every single year where they box themselves in and then they have to make a correction at the last minute, and it really pisses people off because they're, I think ultimately, right, like with this situation, I think they got it right. I think Alabama should be ahead of Notre Dame, but it's the fact that it took a month of rankings for them to acknowledge that. And when you win against a 5-7 Auburn team by a touchdown, that's not going to make a lot of viewers understand why you made that decision. So I think more transparency from them is good. I would just say on the Texas thing, and I think I know they didn't play Ohio State last year, but I guess the comparison that I've been making, like at work and things, is I think Texas this year they remind me a lot of Alabama last year, just in the sense where you look at their resume and what it is. I know Alabama didn't play Ohio State, so you could argue that Texas this year is better, but I guess I just look at it for all the people that would go, well, if you don't play Ohio State, you're probably in the playoff. I'm like, well, I don't know if you are, though, because you still lost to a really bad Florida team. And I guess that's where I go to, right? The reason Alabama didn't make the playoff last year, it's because you got blown out by a bad Oklahoma team, right? If you win that game, you're in the playoff. Same thing for Texas this year. You beat that bad Florida team, you're in the playoff right now. We're not even having this conversation. So I can see both sides of it, but I guess I look at it as, when you have 3 wins, you really open yourself up for that stuff, even if you're Texas. And I do think strength of schedule has to matter, but you also don't need to be losing and having a third loss to a really, really bad Florida team.
That's true. But out of the 4 teams you played that are in the playoffs right now, you are 2-2 against those teams. You beat Texas A&M, you lost to Georgia, you beat Oklahoma, and you lost to Ohio State. I mean, Oklahoma and Texas A&M are great wins, and it kind of goes back to that Notre Dame Miami thing, right? So if Miami beats Notre Dame head on, I think they should be in. I'm not a huge fan of Texas, but they got a pretty strong argument.
Yeah, I mean they do, but at the same time they're 2-2, and it also one thing.
And I will say this: the Georgia thing that hurt them because,
Yes,
in my opinion, like I think Texas A&M and Oklahoma are good, but Georgia is clearly the best team out of that bunch, and they got smoked by Georgia. Like that's my thing with Texas is I can understand the argument for putting them in, but I don't look as that as a team that actually has a chance to win a title, in my opinion.
right.
You see Notre Dame as a team that has a chance to win the title.
What'd you say?
Notre Dame? You see Notre Dame as a team that has a chance?
I think Notre Dame would beat Texas right now, yeah.
Okay.
I think Notre Dame's good. I understand the resume argument, and I think from that standpoint, Miami should be in over them. But I think if you like watching Notre Dame play, they're legit, in my opinion.
Well, so if you have Notre Dame at 10, whoever the ACC school is comes out at 11, and then you got the non-Power 5. Wouldn't you rather see Texas in over those last 2 at least? Or
absolutely, yeah. No, I'm big. Personally, I think it should be the top 12 teams in the rankings. I don't like the G5. I don't like giving out the participation trophies to 2 teams. I don't like that.
So teams that are 10-2, I'm just looking at this real quick. Oklahoma 10-2, Alabama 10-2, Notre Dame 10-2, Miami 10-2, Vanderbilt 10-2, Utah 10-2, Virginia 10-2, Tulane 10-2. That's 7 teams, 8 teams that are 10-2 and fighting for the last 4 spots in the playoffs. Obviously, Virginia, they win the ACC championship they're in, so we'll say 7. Notre Dame doesn't have a chance to win their 11th game there. A couple other Bama has a chance to win their 11th. Oklahoma's going to be 10-2. Miami's going to be 10-2. Vanderbilt's 10-2. Utah, 10-2 just isn't good anymore, and that's what's crazy. I don't know if you guys saw John Gruden. He went on a little mini rant, basically comparing the NCAA to college football pros, which it's a pretty good comparison. Everybody's getting paid now. You have 32 teams in the NFL and you have 136 in college football. I get there's a much wider variety of teams that are going to be absolutely filthy and absolutely dog bottom of the barrel there. There has to be some structure, though. And we go from having 5 conferences to really just 4 now. And those 4 conferences are 16 teams deep, where if you're the best of that team, best of that conference, even if you're top 5 of that conference, they don't all need to be in. And I think that's where we're getting a little ahead of ourselves right now with the SEC and with the Big Ten.
Well, I guess that's why they're talking about expanding to the 24 team.
I like going European soccer style. I don't watch soccer at all, but having relegations and leagues where you can
I would love that.
down,
Yeah.
to me, it just makes sense. And then it brings back let's say you're Division II. Guess what? You can say you're Division II national championships, and then you'll get promoted. You'll get kicked out the year after, but at least you have a chance to go run with the big dogs while you can.
I like that a lot. And I think, again, it's like the same thing with the group of five, right? It's like, would you rather, have all these teams competing for one spot in a playoff where you're going to be one and done, 9 out of 10 years, or would you rather have your own playoff where you can win a national championship, right? And that can be kind of your own thing that you own. I did want to throw this out there, though, because you brought up the Texas thing, because I do respect what Texas did. And I do think this is something that could happen. So y'all tell me if you think I'm crazy or not. All right. So we know the committee, they do some weird stuff. All right, so let's say Alabama beats Georgia and Texas Tech beats BYU. So BYU's out. If they lose, they're not going to make the playoff. I think at that point, you could see they'll jump Alabama over Oklahoma. I don't think they're super impressed with Oklahoma because offensively they've been pretty bad the second half of the season. Well, we just saw them jump Texas over a Vanderbilt team that's 10-2, but they beat them head-to-head. What if they jump Texas back over Oklahoma now because the only reason they can't do it this past week is because they can't, they're stuck with Alabama because they have to honor the head-to-head there.
And that goes back. Are we going to honor the head-to-head or not? Like, let's make a decision.
Right.
What are we going to do?
Well, and if you honor the Miami to Notre Dame head-to-head, I think then that could make them also go and look at Texas, Oklahoma and go, well, if we're doing the Miami one,
Right.
might as well do the Texas one too. I just, I think there's a little hope out there if you're a Texas fan.
No. But Vanderbilt, they lost to Bama and they lost to Texas, 34-31, on the road for both of them. I like Vanderbilt over Texas, even though they lost head-to-head.
They don't. My only problem with Vanderbilt, I think it's a great story. I'd love to see them have a shot in the playoff. They don't have a marquee win. That's their problem. They don't have they didn't beat Alabama or Texas or, they didn't play Georgia and get to win that game or an Ole Miss, right? That's my only problem with Vanderbilt is I think they're really good. They just
you can say last week absolutely blowing out 45-24 Tennessee in Knoxville. I'd say that.
Oh, it was a great win.
Yeah,
but they're unranked.
Best win, but I see what you're saying. That's where
it's a great win against an unranked team.
That's where I think having the relegation in the different divisions, not only is it going to separate the good teams from the bad teams, but it's also going to separate the paychecks of, the schools that can afford a $20, $40, $50 million roster where you're competing with some teams that can't even produce a $5 million team with NIL and all. So I don't know. Relegation, I think there has to be more structure, whether it's relegation, whether it's having a executive CEO or whatever over college football, there just has to be change. And I think that's what everybody's demanding this year moving forward.
Dude, after watching the John Gruden video, let him be in charge. He had some good ideas. Now, obviously, some of them are nice ideas that would be hard to implement, but there's a lot of the best ideas I've heard.
My vote's for Bondi, CFP president. Get him in there.
I still got 4 years of eligibility. I'm trying to play before I go and run it.
That's right.
All right, speaking of playing, let's recap rivalry weekend, week 13 of the Pick 'em here. Started off on Friday with the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss on the road at Mississippi State. 7.5-point favorite from the Rebels. Able to cover that 38-19, no problem at all. Georgia, neutral site against Georgia Tech in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Georgia was a 13.5-point favorite. This was very low scoring, 16-9. Georgia wins, but Georgia Tech covers. Texas A&M on the road as a 2.5-point favorite in Austin against the Texas Longhorns. Not only did Texas A&M lose, they lost by 10 there, 27-17. Texas covered that 2.5-point underdog. The game, whatever that means. Ohio State on the road in the Big House against Michigan. Finally, for the first time in 5 years, Ohio State wins 27-9, covering that an 11.5-point favorite.
That game was so boring. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. That game was so boring.
It was boring up until the snow came down, and then it got a little fun.
It's fun to watch the snow, yeah.
Would love to see that in the SEC. Just don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon.
Let's go play in Green Bay. SEC championship in Green Bay.
Shit, no. You're gonna go fly up there and watch that now? Actually, honestly, I would. I would, even if my team.
It would be a cool experience. Yeah, it would be cool.
Clemson on the road in South Carolina in the Palmetto Bowl. 2.5-point favorites for the South Carolina Gamecocks, but they did not even win. 28-14, almost a 20-point there, right at 14. Miami on the road is an underdog at Pittsburgh. 4.5-point favorite from the Pittsburgh Panthers, but they lost 38-7. Vandy going on the road to Knoxville. Speaking of, Vandy was a 3.5-point underdog, and they went out and smoked them with a 21-piece here. Shout out to the Commodores, 45-24. Oregon, 6.5-point favorite on the road in Washington, 26-14. Ducks take it there and cover. Vegas projected a 20-piece for USC hosting the UCLA Bruins. 20.5-point favorite for the Trojans. Only could beat them by 19, though. USC wins 29-10, and the Iron Bowl wrapping it up here. 5.5-point favorite for the visiting Crimson Tide in Auburn. Was able to cover that 27-20 with a last-minute 4th and 5 conversion there. 20-piece of the week, Anthony. You might have an exact number. I think this is the third, maybe the fourth time that the Indiana Hoosiers have put fourth time that they have put up a 20-piece. And we'll just scrap the 20. We'll scrap the 40. This is a 53-piece. Indiana takes down the Purdue Boilermakers 56-3 to wrap up their rivalry weekend there. All that being said brings us to Conference Championship weekend. We got a couple games on the slate that nobody has heard of these teams, a couple games on the slate that we haven't even known that they're playing any football games, and we got a couple games on the slate that are cinema-worthy. Starting it off with the Conference USA Championship, Kennesaw State on the road. So these first 4 games are all home games for certain teams. Kennesaw State on the road at Jacksonville State here in Jacksonville, Alabama. Jacksonville State 1.5-point favorite, 6:00 p.m. on Friday night, Central Time there. Anthony, who you got winning this game?
Yeah, will not be watching this one, but I'm going to go with the Alabama. You know, the in-state guys with Jacksonville State minus 1.5, and that's the only reason why this game sounds like it'll be close, but I will not be watching. So give me JSU, baby.
I love the honesty.
Straight up.
Conrad, who you got here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll go JSU. I'll stay cocky as well. I think they've done a really nice job in their 2 years since being in FBS. They've done a pretty good job with that transition. Kennesaw State, seriously. I mean, they've been one of the bottom 3 or 4 programs in FBS for a while. So to see them have this kind of year is very cool. I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched Kennesaw State, but I do know how bad they've been. So it is cool to see that they have this opportunity. But JSU, I like them to cover. I didn't know this until the other day. Jacksonville State, their running back is the leading rusher in college football.
Oh, wow.
He has the most rushing yards of any running back in college. He has like almost 1,600 yards. So, yeah, I'll take JSU.
Okay. Did not know that, but I did know this. You mentioning Kennesaw State's at the bottom of the barrel for the FBS. They've only been there for about 3 or 4 years. They're pretty new to it. And for them to be in the Conference USA Championship a couple years in, I think is pretty impressive. Coincidentally enough, I grew up a couple minutes from Kennesaw State, and my grandfather, he's from Jacksonville, was heavily involved with Jacksonville State. Pretty impressive game for the Bondi family here. Still not going to watch much of it, though. They did play earlier in the year. Kennesaw State beat Jacksonville at Jacksonville 35-26. I think it's going to repeat itself. Don't know why. I mean, you can't beat a team twice, but I think in this case, Kennesaw State is going to beat a team twice here and hoist up the Conference USA Championship. So I'm going to get you guys in first pick here. Second pick going down or going up, depending on where you live, to Virginia at James Madison. Troy at James Madison. James Madison being a 22.5-point favorite for the Sun Belt Championship. You mentioning a double-digit underdog here for the Troy Trojans. Conrad, who you got winning the Sun Belt?
Yeah, it's hard for me to go against James Madison. I mean, 22.5 is a lot. That's a lot of points. I think they're definitely going to win the game. They know what's on the line, right? If they win this game, they're going to have a good shot at making the playoff if Duke wins the ACC. So I'll go JMU. I'll take Troy to cover, though. Go Trojans. But JMU wins.
Okay. 22.5, that's a lot of points. Vegas predicted a 20-point last week for USC. Conrad's saying they're not going to do it again this week, so I get what you're saying. Anthony, who you got here?
I'm going to go opposite here. I'm going to take James Madison minus the points. Troy took a pretty bad loss a few weeks ago to Old Dominion, 33-0. So I know James Madison is a much better team than Old Dominion, so I'm going to go with James Madison here.
Anthony, you stole my thunder here, but I'm going to do you one up. So, yes, Troy did get shut out 33-0 against Old Dominion. That same Old Dominion team got smacked down 63-27 by James Madison. I think this is going to be a 20-piece, probably 20-piece of the week, but this has potential to be a 40-piece here. So give me the Dukes covering 22.5, no problem there. Moving over to New Orleans, 7 o'clock ABC Friday night. Tulane hosting North Texas. Both teams are green. North Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. This is for the American Championship. Anthony, who you got winning that?
Both teams lost their head coach to other schools. So I think I like John Summerall a little bit more though. So I'm gonna go with Tulane plus the points here. Again, another one that I probably won't be watching. But this has playoff implications. So yeah, I'll go Tulane plus 2.5.
10-4. Conrad?
I'm gonna go. Give me North Texas and this one, and I mean it's pretty simple for me. Again, I think this is going to be a great game. I could see it going either way, but I'll go North Texas. I think they got the better quarterback in Mestamaker. He's one of the best in the country. He's going to be a hot portal name. That's a guy that's going to get a lot of money this offseason to go somewhere else. And again, if we're doing the common opponents thing, Tulane got destroyed by UTSA about a month ago. North Texas beat that UTSA team 55-17 this year. So I'm going to take North Texas. I think they make the playoff. I think they're just a little bit better.
Love it. Conrad, I'm riding with you. Common opponent, you nailed it right on the head. Like I mentioned earlier, they're both green. One's a wave, and the other one's mean. So give me the mean team from North Texas there. No problem there. Denton, Texas representing. Last game on the slate for Friday, UNLV going up to the Smurf Turf in Boise, Idaho. Boise State Broncos as a 3.5-point favorite for the Mountain West Championship. Anthony, who you got here?
Another. A couple of the other ones haven't been irrelevant, but I'm going to call this one irrelevant. I'm going to go with the home team here, Boise State minus 3.5. Just because I don't have a reason for this one.
Okay. I believe they're looking to defend their Mountain West Championship, and that was also a home game for them. So not a bad pick there. Conrad, you following suit or switching it up?
Oh, man, I really want to go with Dan Mullen in this one and capping off his first season there in Las Vegas with an 11-win season and a conference title. But we've seen these teams play this year. Boise beat UNLV by 20-plus earlier in the season. I know it's tough to beat the same team twice, but that's a pretty dominant win there. So I'll take Boise at home to defend the title.
Okay. I'm going to go against it. I don't know why. I really don't. But I am.
You love Dan Mullen.
I guess I'm gonna take the Vegas odds and go with the Vegas team here. I did make note. UNLV beat Nevada last week 42-17, and Boise State beat them 24-3. Obviously, they can put up some points, both teams. But again, I'm just riding with. I don't think UNLV is going to win. I do think they're going to cover, though. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. So, give me UNLV. Give me the Vegas odds. First game on Saturday, Western Michigan versus Miami of Ohio in Ford Field in Detroit. The MAC Championship. MACtion typically is on Tuesday. This week it's on Saturday, and it's for a big deal here. Western Michigan being a 2.5-point favorite over the Miami Redhawks. Anthony, who you got here?
Yeah, Western Michigan's lost one in the conference, and it was to Miami of Ohio. So I'm going to go with Miami, Ohio, plus 2.5.
Gotcha. Conrad.
I'll go with Miami, Ohio. I don't know. I was like Ben Roethlisberger growing up. He was fun to watch. And yeah, that's all I got on Miami, Ohio.
Okay. I'm switching it up. Give me Western Michigan. Since Miami did lose to Western Michigan, Miami is 2-2. Western Michigan is still 4-0. Western Michigan also lost a follow alumni, Marshawn Keelan, Nealon, couple weeks back. I think that's going to use just that much more motivation to get out and put a dominant beat down on the Redhawks there. So I'll go against you guys in this one there. Another 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC, the Big 12 Championship, BYU and Texas Tech at AT&T Stadium, also known as Jerry World. Texas Tech beat them once this year, but this go around they are 13.5-point favorite. Anthony, who's going to win and who's going to cover?
Yeah, I think Texas Tech will win and cover here. The last result was 29-7. I think that BYU might get kicked out of the playoff here on this one. So I think Texas Tech is just a way better team. So give me Texas Tech minus 13.5 here.
Conrad, following suit or switching it up?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Red Raiders. You mentioned it, Anthony. They crushed them earlier in the season, and that was a game that, I mean, they won it 29-7. But if you watch that game, that could have easily been like a 45-7 kind of win there for Texas Tech because they settled for a bunch of field goals in that game. But yeah, I think BYU's had a good season. They're a good story. I don't have anything against BYU personally. When I've watched them this year, they just kind of remind me of like an SMU from last year, right? They're a good team. I understand their record looks like they should be in the playoff, but when they play the big boys, it doesn't work. And I think Texas Tech is actually a real threat. They could make some noise and maybe find themselves in a national championship, depending on how the bracket plays out for them. So I like Texas Tech big. I think they crush them.
Boys, I'm going to follow it with you. While Texas Tech is not necessarily the home team, it is in the great state of Texas. BYU came to Texas once this year, and like you said, they got blown out 29-7. BYU, they're playing to be in the playoffs. Texas Tech is playing to earn a first-round bye. Obviously, if they lose, that probably will not happen, but I think the guns are going to be blazing. I think they're on radar for a 20-piece this week. So give me the Red Raiders covering 13.5, maybe by 20 here. I do want to ask you guys this. BYU losing to a guaranteed first-round bye team twice. Their only 2 losses of the year. Why would that not put them over some of these other 2-loss teams that are potentially in the runnings?
Well, that tells me you've had 2 chances to show me you belong in a playoff, and you haven't shown it.
But you could say the same thing about Vandy and Texas, what we said earlier. Well, maybe not Vandy, but Texas earlier.
Yeah,
They lose
they're not
to
going to be
Ohio
in the
State,
playoff.
they lose to Georgia.
They're not going to be in the playoff either.
Okay, fair.
That's just my take.
Fair. Anthony, you adding on, or are we going to move on to the SEC Championship?
No, let's move on. Conrad hit the nail on the head with that one.
All right.
This is the poo-poo on BYU podcast. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to be that way.
No, that's right. I'm not Mormon. Doesn't offend me. Georgia and Bama. History just seems to repeat itself. I'm tired of watching this SEC Championship year after year, but we're watching it again this year. Georgia lost the first go-around 27-24. They are now the 2.5-point favorite. Anthony, fill me in. Who's going to take home the SEC Championship this year?
Alabama again. Kirby Smart has a 1-7 record against Alabama and 0-2 against Kalen DeBoer. So I don't know why Georgia is the favorite here. Maybe just because it is in Atlanta. But I'm taking Bama plus 2.5 here all day.
Conrad, I know you're going to be there. You're going to be hammering Bama or rooting for the Dogs to cover?
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest with you. I feel the exact same way about this game as I felt about every Alabama-Georgia game for the last almost 10 years now, right? It's the ultimate coin flip game going into it. I think you look on paper right now, I think Georgia's been playing better the second half of the season than Alabama has. I think a lot of these times you go into this game, though, you could easily look at Georgia and go, I feel like they're a little better than Alabama. But guess what? Alabama always finds a way to beat Georgia. So I'm going to stick with it, man. They're 10-1 in their last 11 against Georgia. They've never lost in Atlanta to the Bulldogs. Yeah, give me Alabama in a close one.
Love it. I'm going to write it with you guys. My note here, the only time that Georgia has won was in the national championship in 2022 when Bama beat them in the SEC championship. Obviously, we're not in the national championship quite yet, so I think Bama's going to take away in the SEC championship to potentially give us a third matchup of the year between the Bulldogs and the Tide here. So give me Bama. Let's throw a little spice into this college football playoffs to figure out who's going to get that 4th seed. So give me Bama here. No problem there.
So let me ask y'all real quick. So, because this has been kind of a debate at work. So, if Alabama wins, do y'all think they get a first-round bye or no?
I think so, just because, and I know the college football playoff landscape is changing year after year because there's no president, CEO, whatever you want to call it. But last year, correct me if I'm wrong, the top 4 teams were the top 4 ranked conference champions, correct?
Correct, because Boise State got a bye last year, didn't they?
Right. And so
Yeah.
Clemson got held out. Clemson had to play and SMU had to play because Clemson upset SMU, and that kind of threw it off the radar there.
Yeah.
So I think for the sake of consistency, highest ranked conference champion needs to get that bye. So if Bama wins, I think they need that bye there.
Consistency is out the door, though, Bondi. You know that.
I'm fully aware. But Yeah, I'm still running with it though.
Yeah,
I don't think Georgia deserves the bye if they lose.
fair enough. I mean,
Well, see, that's kind of my thing. Is like, are you going to put Oregon or Ole Miss over an Alabama that just beat Georgia twice and won an SEC champion? I think they get a bye, but I know some people think they wouldn't. So.
But I mean, again, that's where teams that are going. There's just too many damn teams in the conferences. You have so many teams that are just sitting there with a bye. And I mean, I was watching the Georgia Tech game last week with a couple of Georgia fans, and they're like, "Man, we hope that because when was it before Texas? Texas obviously won, but they're like, we were hoping for Alabama to win just so we don't have to play." Uh, Scratch that. I don't know what I was saying there, but Bama was rooting. Georgia was rooting for somebody else to win, so they
Because
didn't
they
have
didn't want to
to play.
play in the game. Yeah, they
Right.
wanted the bye week for the. Yeah, I
And
get. I
it's
get.
like the value of having a conference championship is just completely out of the door with the way this is all structured, and I'm just not for that.
There's one team that's happy to be playing in a conference championship game this weekend. It's BYU.
yeah,
Correct. Maybe Duke.
Everyone else doesn't want to play. Yeah.
Speaking of Duke, they are in the ACC championship against Virginia at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Virginia being a 2.5-point favorite. Anthony, who you got here?
this is another one where the line is kind of like just 2.5. Like it should be a little bit more in my eyes. They beat them already 34-17. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't take Virginia here minus 2.5.
Conrad following suit or switching it?
I'll be honest with you. I don't. This is going to be kind of a gross game in my opinion. Let's go for chaos. Give me Duke. I want to see what happens. I'm going to take Duke. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the ACC doesn't make sense. So would it not be the perfect ending to their
Yeah.
season that Duke wins the conference title? So give me Duke.
So an 8-5 Duke would be in the college playoff then.
No, I think James Madison will get in.
I don't know how that works because so there's nobody from the ACC get in if Duke wins.
Yeah, unless Miami, they jump them over Notre Dame. So because it's the five highest ranked conference champions, and so if James Madison
Okay,
wins, they're already in the top 25. Duke wouldn't be ranked ahead of them, so they would get in over Duke.
gotcha. Again,
Consistency. We need
Let's
it.
do it.
We need it. There's none of it, and we need it. When I first looked at this, I thought it was damn basketball season. Virginia and Duke, I mean, they're dominant powerhouses for the basketball league, but here they are playing for a football championship. No Miami, no Clemson, but Miami getting a bye could potentially pole vault them into the playoffs. So it just makes no sense to me. Anthony, you nailed it on the head. Carolina, the state of North Carolina has already hosted Virginia when they went to town to Duke. They lost 34-17. Duke did. I think they're going to do it again, probably even more by that. So give me Virginia covering 2.5, no problem there.
That's probably the smart pick.
Well, don't be calling Anthony and I smart because that's just not a good compliment there. Gentlemen, last game of the night, probably the most anticipated game. Number 1 versus number 2, Indiana Hoosiers versus the Ohio State Buckeyes in Lucas Oil for the Big Ten championship. Ohio State 5.5-point favorite against a very high-powered Indiana team. Anthony, what's going to happen in Indianapolis this weekend?
I would love to see Indiana's offense just go crazy here. I don't know that it'll happen, but I do think that they will cover that 5.5. I'm thinking back to the Ohio State Texas game. It was only a touchdown win. And Indiana, I think, is much better offensively. And I know that was at the beginning of the season, but like I said, I just want to see Mendoza go off, get him a Heisman Trophy. And I guess the winner of this game might get the Heisman Trophy, unless Diego Pavia, decides to hop in and steal it. But yeah, I'm going to go Indiana plus 5.5 here, just for Mendoza.
Love it. Conrad, following or switching it up?
All right, so I apologize if I'm getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit because I'm gonna throw a little hot take in here at the end. So I do think, and again, I understand, a lot of people, maybe not super impressed with Ohio State because they haven't played a very difficult schedule, and I think that's valid, right? They didn't have to play Indiana, they didn't have to play Oregon, totally fair. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. Just watching them, eye test, they have the best roster. They're the defending national champions. They're undefeated. I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, and maybe Indiana will prove me wrong, but I think Ohio State's they're really, really good, man. I think they're going to win another title this year. And if you want it even a little spicier, um, I would not be surprised if Ohio State ended up winning by 20 plus. Like, I think they are that good. So I hope it's a competitive game. I like Indiana. I've been really impressed by them, but I do think right now Ohio State is easily the best team in the country.
Conrad, I get why they got you on the radio, man, because that's Inferno hot take right there. I mean,
Well, I didn't want to go with like JMU or something. That's my 20 piece of the week is Ohio State. That's not the smart play, but that's I'm sure. Let's have some fun.
okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, I get it. Last week of the year, let's have fun, man. Best of luck to you. I'm going to ride complete opposite. I'm with Anthony here. Um, One note I do have: this game should tell you how much the TV and media rights have control of the scene of the college football here. You have number one versus number two, and College Game Day is not there strictly because the game is on Fox. I get it; it makes sense to have the big noon kickoff, but you literally can't script it better if you have the number one and the number two team head to head matching up in the same field. It makes no sense to me. Football fans as a whole, we care about football, not necessarily the TV rights and the money. But if you do care about money, go ahead and ride with me on this pick and thank me later. The winner of this game is going to have the Heisman winning quarterback, like Anthony said. Both offenses are pretty dang fun to watch. Ohio State's got a damn solid defense there. You got Julian Sand throwing over 3,000 passing yards this year, 30 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. Fernando the Bull Mendoza with 2,800 passing yards almost, 32 touchdowns and 5 INTs. He probably could have been well over that 3,000-yard mark, maybe even 3,500. He's getting taken out halfway between these games. That they're just absolutely blowing teams out here. Indiana, they did escape Happy Valley with Penn State by 3. Went into Eugene, beat Oregon by 10, and they beat Iowa, a very solid defense historically and especially this year, by 5 there. Common denominator here, you got the Illinois fighting Illinois, whatever the hell that is.
Illini.
Illinois. If we're calling it Illinois, it's Illinois.
Illinois.
Number 9 at the time when they played them, Indiana, and they just put a smackdown on 63-10. Ohio State, they beat Texas week 1. Okay, cool. It's week 1. A lot of football has gone on since then, but that was at home by 7. And then the same Illinois team that Indiana smacked down, they only beat them 34-16. So the 5.5, I think, is a little reach for Ohio State. I do think they have a very solid defense to reduce Mendoza and his offense, but at the same time, Indiana, they're going for an undefeated season. They're looking to win the Big Ten championship, and I think the price to get into this game is like $600. Let me double check that, but it's up there, and it's up there for a reason because this is a much anticipated game. We are looking at $604 to get into this, so all eyes are on Fox, 7 o'clock Central Time. And I like the Indiana Hoosiers running away with this 5.5-point spread. Again, if you don't care about football, that's fine. If you care about money, Indiana 5.5. Conrad, I know you kind of led the charge saying that Ohio State's going to be your 20 piece. Is that going to be your 20 piece? Are you going with that?
Yeah, it's not a smart pick, but let's ride.
Okay. I mean, you only got 7 games to choose from, 8 games to choose from, whatever it is. Conrad's with Ohio State. I mean, dude, you're going up against Indiana, the 4-time 20-piece champion. Are you kidding me, Conrad?
I know. Isn't that why it would be so funny?
Yeah, there's a good chance that gets flipped on you, and Indiana becomes the 20-piece of the week.
Very possible. Very possible.
Very well
Again,
could be.
I understand that this is not the smartest pick on the board, but I don't care because if it happens, it's not going to happen. But I'll ride with it anyways.
If it happens, Anthony and I will come up on the show next week with duct tape on our mouth, and we'll just let you talk whatever you want to talk about.
You say something crazy, eventually you'll get something right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anthony, who's your 20 piece this week?
Yeah, I know you're going to take JMU here, Bondi. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech, BYU. Texas Tech, I think they're going to win by the biggest margin out of these games. I think there's a chance James Madison doesn't cover here. maybe not as much. They won't win by as much as we may think, just because Bob Chesney left, going to UCLA. Billy Napier taking the James Madison job.
That's right.
Maybe we'll have some fight in the Troy Trojans this week, and so yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas Tech on my 20 piece of the week.
Interesting. I threw this down here, James Madison. I was going to flip it last minute to Texas Tech because 29-7. That's what, an 18 piece there. Give me the Dukes though. They're the largest spread on these games. I do like. 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 5.5. Like, I like these close matchups, and that's what the conference championships need to be. I would anticipate that's probably what the college football playoffs are going to be as well. But a 20 piece projected by Vegas. I like my odds there. Give me the Dukes. And that's going to wrap it up for the conference championship week of the 20 piece podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you so much tuning in, not only this week, but the previous weeks as well. Stay tuned, stay up to date. Make sure your picks are getting submitted. Anthony, fill us in here. I know we're kind of veering away from the app and in towards more of a website base. You want to give some update to the fans that are out there listening?
Yeah, sure. We're doing away with the app. We have got a new website up where you can submit your picks there. You got college football pick 'em, college basketball pick 'em, and you'll be able to see the leaderboards as well. One cool feature that I've added is live scores, and kind of standings for every sport you may watch, including some soccer. I know, Bonnie, you said you're pulling for some relegations. How changes in college football. So yeah, you can check that out there too. So we just kind of go in a different direction, hopefully making the technology easier for y'all to access and easier for y'all to submit. So, and have some fun doing it.
Soccer's given us two good things. That's relegation and divisions that way somehow, and stamina. Those suckers run damn far every time, and props to them. They got some Kenyan lungs running around that pitch there. So love it. Love it. Again, we appreciate you guys joining in for today, the rest of the season, and many more seasons to come. Stay in touch with us at 20 Piece on Instagram and YouTube, and we will see you guys next week. Cheers.